Good morning, Missy. How are you today?
I'm good, Tammy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk to you. So, why don't you introduce yourself to whoever's out there listening today?
Yep. Hello, I'm Missy K. I am a 6'2" emotional manifester and sun rhythm of Gemini and all the other intellectual and air signs out there. Tammy, how about yourself?
My name is Tammy. I have Scorpio Time Bender as a YouTube page and a signification because I am a Scorpio sun. And in human design, I'm a manifesting generator. And the term for that in quantum human design is time bender. So I put together Scorpio time bender as a fun little name, and I really like it. So I am a 2/5 manifesting generator in the human design sign, and I'm an emotional authority. Scorpio sun, Aquarius rising, and Libra moon. So I've got a few air signs there myself. So what are we going to talk about today, Missy, with our friends on our Sunday energetic Bible study?
I know what's sitting on my heart right now is because we're in the midst of planning for our next Mercury retrograde gathering. Excuse me. And so I have a lot of focus going into what is this energy that's coming up. Ken, all I know is that for the last 2 years, I would come into a space of being very gung ho of wanting to get certain things done, especially in the world of the Mercury retrograde gathering, because that was something for about the last 5 or 6 years I was hoping to manifest and bring into the world. And I would get really gung ho around March or before those retrogrades, because we've had a few Aries and Pisces retrogrades happening during these times, maybe Taurus, I can't remember right now. But then my energy would just hit hard and stop. Like I would just not be able to go and manifest or go and create. I went hard into the inward part of me, which makes sense during a Mercury retrograde. That's very much what it's asking. But, like in our last Virgo, our last Sagittarius, I wasn't hit in that same type of energy level. Like I was still feeling pretty productive, pretty, open to the energies and how to navigate through. And so I'm so curious about this upcoming one. I don't want to forecast. I don't want to like make something happen that shouldn't be happening, but I'm just curious how my energy and how my personal journey is going to show up in March and April. And if I'm going to go deep inward, does this have to do with the retrograde that's coming up? And I believe there's more. Does it have to do with the design date? What about the eclipses? What about the equinox? The transition from winter into spring of just the growing. I think when you're growing, you naturally go inward to break out also. So that's what's on my mind, Tammy. So I'm going to hand it over to you to see if you can decipher this and help.
Yeah, everything you said actually sparked more thoughts in me, which is why I love talking to you. What I hear you saying and what I'm seeing as a potential this time is that when we're going from the solar arc where the sun is going from the winter at astrology to the spring astrology, that goes from the Pisces, which is the end of the winter, into the Aries, which is the beginning of the spring. And it's also the end of the zodiac and the beginning of the zodiac. It's the astrological new year, if you will. We have a lot of new years we've been talking about lately, but they all happen in the first 3 months of the like the calendar year.
Really,
Um,
New Year is 3 months long, just
yeah,
an
New Year's
FYI.
is like 3 months long, and I actually really feel like that's true. And we usually have a retrograde or two going on at this time of year. So what the planets doing the retrograde dance is exactly what you were just describing. They're going forward, 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 motivated, creating new ground, breaking new territory, and then step on the brakes, go back, rewind, rework it, look at everything, maybe dismantle some of it, maybe remantle some of it. Like you do this like inward journey. And that's what the archetype of the planet is doing. So the planets represent these energies or archetypes that we all inhabit. So the mercurial archetype is our communication aspect. The Venus archetype is what we attract and what we are attracted to. The Mars aspect is when we act, when we're impulsed to do something. So these are the archetypal, we all have those and we have them at different times and different ratios. Sometimes we're super Marsy and we're focused and we go, 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 and we're going to plow on through. And then certain times we're more cerebral, we're more mercurial, where we want to talk it all out and think it all out and write it all out, right? So
Just
where
get
does
right into it and just be in the presence of that energy, which was my last year, if you remember correctly. Again, we were very gung ho for that. We'd had a great retrograde gathering in Sagittarius, 3 months earlier, and
yes.
we were gung ho for the next one. And then my energy stopped. And I remember texting you at one point being like, Tammy, I want you to know I'm here. I want you to know, like, I'm still gung ho, but I cannot come out of me. Like, every part of me is saying, I am just going to sit in this and wander and meander and feel at this moment.
Well, the biggest part, I think, for you and I personally of this whole experiment is learning how to work correctly with our energy fields and listening to our bodies when they say to stop and listening when they say to go. And that's all part of this when they talk about in human design is deconditioning. It's like really stopping the external programming from telling you what to do and start listening
AKA culture and society.
to say who we are and how we should act. But really, we came in with our own unique energy signature, which is reflected in our astrology chart and it's reflected in our human design. Anyway, so let's go back to these upcoming energies. So, um, the Mercury retrograde, the actual part where it goes backwards. So we remember retrogrades, they go forward first, then they station direct or station retrograde, which means they stop, they go backwards, they retrace the same area, and then they stop, and then they go forward again. And so three times they go over the same territory. Well, the territory that Mercury will be traversing is across that Aries Pisces axis. So it'll go forward over that cusp. We call it a cusp when between two signs. But what's really fascinating that we really just had the aha moment about this morning is that Venus retrograde will be going on at the same time in the same zodiac zone. So not only are you having this Mercury retrograde in that area, but you also have Venus going back and forth. And Neptune is right in the neighborhood and Saturn is right in the neighborhood. They're in the mix too. So when that happens, it means that that Mercury retrograde is flavored not only by being an Aries and Pisces, but it's flavored by the other guys and girls who were in the party with Mercury.
And I think I can point out, but correct me, with Mercury going back and forth between Aries and Pisces, because of the way that the zodiac cycle goes, it's a lot of like beginning and ending at this time because Pisces very much has that like aha 12 house all together ending of like what's going on and then the new beginning coming forward into the
Yeah.
Aries. So that too, I think is going to be a very interesting
Yeah. It's
energy
super,
to
it's
play
super
with.
duper, super duper duper interesting and super duper significant because the longer moving planet Neptune, who takes 100 and don't quote me on this, but I want to say 168 years to go around the sun. It takes a long time for Neptune to go through a whole sign. Well, Neptune is reaching the end of Pisces right now. It's in those last degrees of Pisces and also will dip its toe into Aries for a few months and then it'll retrograde back into Pisces for a few months but that happens over a longer period of time, but that's in this mix too. That longer conversation is also in the mix. So yes, endings, beginnings on small scales, endings, beginnings on large scales, dancing on that edge of everything is one versus no, I'm an individual, and the reality that both things are true. Both
I
things
know
are true.
two things can be true at once. Two,
Right.
three, four, five things can be true at once. And this is
So,
very much that. We are part of the collective and we also are individual beings.
Exactly. And so I believe that as Mercury and Venus and Neptune and Saturn all do their dance across this little area, those are the types of explorations we may be encountering. Endings, which may be comfortable or uncomfortable, beginnings, which may be comfortable or uncomfortable, and the dance between the two. And so we're going to be going back and forth probably between the old and the new and the old and the new and the all and the one and the all and the one, you know?
Would you say that that might be the intersection of evolution?
I
Possibly.
would I would
I'm
say
curious now if that
yes.
could be the intersection of evolution because the old and the new, there's value to both of them. We really value the changes that happen in that make our lives easier, that bring more joy and curiosity and opportunities. But then there's something to be said about what we have done and where we have been and how we practice. And so can't help to think if that's evolution right there.
100%. And something you said about structures last time, you were talking about like algorithms and how we were talking about how those structures of society just don't fit everyone, right? So we try to create these algorithms to create efficiency. Like, oh, if I know A plus B equals C, then I will know how to do X, Y every time, every single time I'll do it this way. But we also know that people don't fit into those nice little algorithms. And I think we're going back and forth between taking down the structures that no longer work and rebuilding new structures that do work. That's a part of the Saturn going through Pisces. Saturn is that structure and the old ways of doing things. That's going through Pisces right now too. And so that's getting the dismantling the parts of society, the structures of society that no longer work, or maybe in your personal life. I mean, we can see it in society, but structures are being challenged. Let's put it that way. And things that are no longer working are being dissolved. But then we come into the Aries voice where then the new starts right up again. We either can create onto the old structures where they were working and add on or start a brand new structure, right? So that
Boy,
ties
that
into what
really
you.
feels like the life that we're living in. And I know it's very scary because I think there are many of us that are concerned about our current structures and concerned about vulnerable people who are being affected uh, very impactfully at this moment. But then there's again that level of trust that certain things are meant to be dismantled in different ways. Do I wish that things are dismantled in a much more ethical and thoughtful way? I do. I really do. But I will keep on moving forward and helping everyone figure out how to move forward in the energy that we are right now living.
So, I think that wraps up kind of the current energies and what some of the Mercury energies could be. I think it's exciting. The endings and beginnings. Yes, you could choose to live in fear. And I think, but what I've learned is that take the fear, don't repress it. Go, okay, it's here. I have the fear. Allow it to be, allow it to communicate with you, allow it to open up and unravel. And guess what? It resolves. You don't have to go in a fear cycle or a fear loop where you go over and over and over into the same fear. You can actually hold it, give it space, allow it to unravel, allow it to tell you what it wants. That part is a little uncomfortable, but then you can actually move through any uncomfortable fear, anger, rage,
No matter
disappointment.
what you said,
Yeah,
I
for
agree
sure.
with that, though, also that brings us into what's happening this week. Our doors are opening for the next Mercury retrograde gathering, the first one of the trine in 2025. We open the doors, the virtual doors, of course, on February 15th. We have different price points that fits whatever your budget is. It will, as a quick little overview, will help prepare ourselves and set intentions and get ourselves aligned. During the pre-shadow, we'll all support each other in providing that inward opportunity to be able to mine our own personal shadows and uncover those messages that we need to hear, that you need to hear specifically to recalibrate your life and moving forward. Then we'll come back out after the retrograde of into the post shadow. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. We'll be back next week for energy Bible study and exploration. And we hope everyone just has a beautiful week ahead.
Bye for now.